Hello, everyone. Welcome to Tips and Tricks to Handle Stress. We're going to get started now. My name is Gina Franklin. I'm a mental health professional with Wellness Resource Services here at St. Cloud Technical and Community College to provide mental health services to students. An overview of what we're going to be talking about today is listed here. We're going to start with some research and statistics about stress, the impact of stress in 4 different areas. And then we're going to talk about a concept that is called a window of tolerance. We're going to talk about some coping skills, and that's where I'm going to give you my list of top 10 coping skills for dealing with stress. We will talk about self-care, and then also some tips on reducing stress while learning online. And then I will go over some of the services that are available for students. So we'll start with how stress affects our functioning. Some research on this. So the statistics that I'm going to present to you today come from this study, the 2018 College Student Health Survey. And so the survey is made up of students from 18 Minnesota colleges and universities who were randomly selected, and 10,579 responded to the survey. So there were some top stressors reported in the survey as well. So of the students that reported experiencing stress in the last 12 months, almost 40% of the students reported experiencing 2 or more significant stressors within the last 12 months. 23.4 students reported experiencing 3 or more stressors. So some of the stressors that were listed and included, the top stressor included roommate or housemate conflict, followed by death of someone close to them, and then followed by serious physical illness of someone close to them. This next slide shows a student's ability to manage stress. So 40.1% of students who completed this survey said that they were unable to manage their stress level. Now, I'm going to share a little bit more about sleep and how sleep can impact our ability to manage stress as well, and the importance of getting adequate sleep. So getting adequate sleep helps to improve the ability to manage the stress. Only 44.8% of students who reported receiving 0 to 1 day of adequate sleep in the past week report that they're able to manage their stress. And that's compared to 76.5% of students who report 6 to 7 days of adequate sleep in that period. So someone who is getting adequate sleep can manage their stress at a significantly higher percentage than someone who is not getting adequate sleep. Talking about some different areas that stress can impact our overall functioning. So thoughts, feelings, behaviors, and physical responses. So as far as the impact of stress on our thoughts, we can have memory problems as one of the areas that might be affected. So it might come out in a way of forgetting something that you maybe have remembered for a very long time. Maybe it's like a garage door code or a combination to a lock or something like that that you have done many times, but then just slips your mind. Someone could also have difficulty with concentration, nervousness, and focusing on the negative. We can have a hard time seeing positive things when we are significantly stressed. In terms of feelings, it can lead to moodiness, irritability, or having a short temper, feeling overwhelmed. It can also lead to depression or general unhappiness and crying spells. Some behaviors that may change or that someone may experience or notice include eating more or less, changes to sleep, isolating yourself, or using drugs or alcohol to relax. Some physical responses that can happen in our body include having muscle tension, having aches or pains, some gastrointestinal disturbances, and possibly nausea or dizziness, chest pain, or rapid heartbeat. So I think one thing that can happen easily when someone is really stressed is people can get kind of cranky. That goes back to that part of our emotions and moodiness or irritability. We can get cranky when we're stressed. And one way to sort of explain that, I have this visual here of something called a window of tolerance. So it says it's normal to have a smaller window of tolerance during stressful times. So our window of tolerance is when we are like functioning at our best. So that's the rainbow part of that image there. And so looking at this image, if you've ever heard the terms of fight, flight, or freeze, you can kind of associate that with the shutdown cloud and the blow up cloud. So the shutdown cloud would be associated with freeze, and that can also be known as hypoarousal. And the blow up cloud can be associated with the flight or fight response, and that is also known as hyperarousal. And the window of tolerance, again, that's like our comfort zone. So this is where we are able to function the most efficiently. We can receive, process, and use information most effectively and efficiently. This is where we think more rationally, we can make decisions more calmly. And when we are experiencing a high level of stress, we are likely outside of that comfort zone and where we are able to function most efficiently. So just considering that for yourself too, sometimes kind of checking in with yourself, thinking about, okay, where am I possibly in this window of tolerance? Am I in shutdown mode? Am I in blow up mode? Am I getting close to one or the other? And keeping that in check for yourself or kind of assessing, reflecting on that can be helpful in managing stress too. Okay, so now we're going to talk about coping with stress. So I wanted to start with what is a coping skill and just defining that. So the definition I have here is techniques and strategies a person may use to decrease stress and deal with challenging situations. So why are coping skills important? Well, they are important for a lot of reasons. Some of those reasons include you likely have or will experience stress at some point in your life or some kind of unpleasant emotion that it would be helpful to have some skills to be able to deal with. Also, learning these things can help to manage any of those unpleasant feelings that might come up, even if they don't happen very often. Coping skills can also help with other mental health concerns like anxiety, depression, or post-traumatic stress disorder. Okay, a few tips of ways that you can reduce stress before we move on to my list of top 10 coping skills, which is coming up next. So ways you can reduce stress, ensure that you're taking care of your physical well-being. And I'm going to talk more specifically about that when we talk about self-care as well. But for as far as physical well-being, that's like making sure that you're getting adequate sleep, you're eating well, you're staying hydrated, exercising, those kinds of things. The next is mindfulness. So mindfulness is being present in the here and now, in the current moment. So the quote that I have on the screen there, worrying does not empty tomorrow of its troubles, it empties today of its strength. I think can help with the concept of mindfulness that if we are worrying about something, we are likely thinking about something either in the future or in the past. And so trying to be present and focus on the moment here and now, that can help reduce some of our stress. Setting realistic expectations for yourself and others, that can be very important too, because if we have really high expectations or especially unrealistic expectations, that can contribute to our stress. Being able to identify and challenge negative thoughts, reaching out to family or friends, taking a break or finding something enjoyable, relaxing, or fun to do, something funny. Doing some relaxation, deep breathing exercises. So, deep breaths, do they really make a difference? Yes, they do. Deep breaths can slow your heart rate and help to lower your blood pressure. So this is our chance to practice a short relaxation exercise. It's optional, you don't have to participate. If you like to, great. If you want to just observe, that's okay too. If you do have a fitness tracker or a smartwatch of any kind, anything with a heart rate, ability to monitor your heart rate, I would encourage you to check that before our exercise and then check it after. So I'll give just a moment to check that if you do have that. So what we're going to practice today, I call hand tracing breathing. So I'll explain it first and then we can practice together. So it is best if you're able to have both feet flat on the ground. That helps with just being connected and grounded. Maybe taking a deep breath before we get started. Kind of let yourself relax, get comfortable in your chair. If you want to, if your camera's on, you can turn it off. Some people feel more comfortable with that. If you're feeling comfortable, you can close your eyes, or if you don't want to close your eyes, maybe just find a spot to sort of gaze to. And how this is going to work is we are just going to trace our hand as we inhale. So we'll trace up as we inhale, and then we trace down as we exhale. We'll take a brief pause in between, but we'll inhale and exhale as we trace. Okay, so I'm going to talk us through the first three and we'll do the last two on our own. Now, if at any time this feels uncomfortable or the rate is not at a rate that is comfortable to you, you can go at your own rate or just stop at any time. Okay, so we're going to start with breathing in and out. Inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. The next two we'll do on our own. And if you can, breathe in through your nose for the next two. Okay, if you do have a smartwatch or anything to monitor your heart rate, you can check that again. If you do, you may notice a reduction in your heart rate. That is one thing that is a benefit of deep breathing exercises. And if not, even just take notice of your body and your mind. Notice anything if you're feeling more calm or relaxed. Those can be benefits of even just 5 deep breaths. So I just wanted to mention one other thing too. So the last 2 breaths there, I mentioned to try to breathe in through your nose if you're able to. So there is some research out there that suggests breathing in through your nose can be beneficial to activating the part of our body that is responsible for returning back to calm and relaxed faster than if we were breathing in through our mouth. All right, I wanted to share a few other tools and tips of things that you can do to help with relaxation, because some people benefit from a more structured or guided relaxation as a way of coping. So these are some apps that can be helpful with that. They are all free, but they do have a paid version as well. I didn't put the descriptions of all of these on here today, but on our website, which Kim will post in the chat for us today, there is a list under our resources section that has a description for each of these apps as well. Many of them have some kind of component of helping with a guided breathing exercise or some kind of meditation. Some of them also have some helpful tips of changing our thoughts. And also it helps with rating our mood or tracking our mood too. So top 10 tips for coping with stress. So the first one is breathing exercises. So we just practiced one of those now. Playing with a pet. There is also research out there that suggests playing with a pet can help reduce our stress as well. Even just getting out of the house, going somewhere, going for a walk, driving somewhere, just going for a drive, going to Quick Trip to get some hot chocolate or something. Anything just to get out of the house can be helpful. A change of scenery, a change of energy, things like that can be helpful. Listening to music can be helpful. I do like to just talk about when I mention listening to music, that there are different types of music that can help us be in different kinds of moods. So I know for myself, there are certain kinds of music that are sort of like my go-to songs that help me just be happy or get into a better mood. So I may suggest too, something you could do is making a playlist of songs that, and you can make a couple different playlists of whatever your intention is or whatever you are needing. So maybe it's a playlist of upbeat songs or songs that help contribute to a more positive or happy mood. Sometimes having some songs for more calm and relaxation can be helpful too. Hanging out with a friend, exercising, making sleep a priority. So you'll hear me mention sleep several times throughout this presentation today. Sleep is a huge factor that can contribute to our overall well-being and is very important. Now I understand sometimes that's not always possible, but doing what you can to try to make sleep a priority, even if you're making small differences, that can really help with your stress and overall well-being too. Calling someone, so that is beneficial for, it could be beneficial for you and also the other person. So I know that texting is probably more common than calling, and that's okay too if you want to text someone, but I think calling someone, it's a different kind of benefit and a different kind of connection that we can have by actually talking to someone. And if you're able to or want to, you could even do like FaceTime or a video call or chat or something like that. Something like that gives us a different kind of benefit as well. Doing something you find fun. So kind of like with the music of having a few go-to songs that help your mood. I have a few go-to things that I like to do. If I'm cranky or if I'm feeling sad or something like that, and I want to kind of get out of that mood, what I like to do is I will look for funny Family Feud clips. There's lots of them out there on YouTube, and there's some lists out there. Just kind of like silly random things, but it makes me laugh. And so that's one thing that I have found that helps me. Another thing that I might do is look up cute animal pictures or cute dog pictures and just look at those for a couple minutes, even if it's in between things, you're in between classes or an assignment online or something like that. Just taking a few minutes to do something that you enjoy or you find fun can be helpful. And then you could also use one of those apps that I previously listed for relaxation as well. All right, we're going to move on to self-care next. So self-care is something that we do with intention to take care of our overall well-being. We are taking care of our mental, emotional, and physical health. So part of self-care is a self-awareness, having compassion, kindness, knowing more about yourself, how you respond, how you react, how do you know when you're doing well or not doing well. An example I like to use with this awareness too is with taking care of yourself, knowing what you need to do to take care of yourself and others is the example of when you're on an airplane and that whole safety speech at the beginning of, you know, how to wear your seatbelt, exits, all of that. There's a part about the oxygen mask, and it instructs you to put your oxygen mask on first. And the reason behind that is you have to put your mask on first so that then you could help others if you need to. If you don't put your mask on first, and then maybe you would not be able to help others because you may be struggling yourself. So taking care of yourself first gives you the ability and more energy to help others. Practicing self-care also builds our confidence and resilience, and it can improve our mood, relationships, and also help with reducing stress and anxiety. Part of self-care is taking care of our basic needs. So like I mentioned before, with the other tips of stress reduction, taking care of our basic needs includes food, shelter, clothing, and safety as sort of the base of that. So I think about it in terms of like a pyramid or a triangle. So the food, shelter, clothing, and safety, that's like our base. We have to have that before we can really function at other levels in that pyramid. If we are hungry and we don't have food, or we don't know where we're getting our groceries this week, or we're not able to pay for them, that kind of stress makes it difficult for us to function at other levels, like focusing on our schoolwork or work, things like that, even our family or relationships. Taking care of our physical well-being, so that includes some of what's the next point there of adequate sleep, eating well, staying hydrated, exercise. Other ways that you can take care of your basic needs is that part of connections with others. So reaching out to supports, it might be family or friends or student services. There are a lot of support services available to students. Reaching out and accessing those can be very helpful. And then also for physical well-being, just checking in on your medical condition, any medical conditions or concerns that you may have, having a checkup if you haven't had one for a while, getting regular medical treatment can be very helpful, and assessing or treating if there are any other underlying medical conditions. Here's just a visual of self-care. So I kind of explained a little bit about what it is and things like that. And now I'm going to share a little bit more specifically of how to take care of yourself. So this is something that we need to actively plan. So setting up a self-care plan is something that can be very helpful in not only reducing stress, but just promoting overall wellness and overall well-being. So setting aside a time for what you choose to do. So looking at these 8 different areas: physical, emotional, social, spiritual, personal, space, financial, and work. Looking at each of those areas, you don't have to choose one from each of the areas. Maybe you just want to choose one from one of the areas or something like that to start. But trying to do one thing from each of these, or one thing from one of these categories each day, can help to strengthen your self-care, which has lots of benefits for yourself. So I would encourage you to set up a self-care plan, like actually write it out. What I'm going to do on Sunday through Saturday, or however you want to structure that, but actually write it out. You can make a note in your phone, write it on a Post-it, a document on your computer, whatever works for you. But actually writing it out can help us with setting goals and also following through with that. Because one thing that can happen too is I might think, oh, this is a great idea and this is something I want to do, and all ready to do that, but then life happens, or I forget, or some other responsibility comes up that I have to take care of. So it's easier for it to sort of slip out of what the routine is going to be or what's going to happen in that day if it's not written down somewhere. So list out specifically what you want to do, at least one thing per day, and also trying to incorporate at least one enjoyable thing that you do each day for yourself. So I'm not going to go over each of these categories. I'm not going to go over everything in these categories, but I'll just highlight a couple of them. So with physical, that again is our sleep. So like I said, I'm going to mention that several times today because that is a very important factor. So checking in with our sleep, even if we're making like minor adjustments to start to try to improve that, can be very helpful. Walking, getting some physical activity and exercise can be helpful. managing our stress, having compassion and kindness for others. There are a lot of benefits um, that happen for the person who is practicing the compassion and kindness for others as well. It's not just beneficial for the person receiving kindness and compassion. So that's one way that you can help with your emotional aspect of self-care. Socially, so the boundaries part there, I just wanted to talk about here too, is boundaries with partners, family, classmates, things like that, at work or in any other setting. Having a boundary can be very helpful for our overall well-being too, in being respectful of our time, other people's times, our expectations. It helps for setting up what the expectation is for ourselves and for others. Being connected with friends, and I know right now it's probably especially challenging to have the social connections. So I think right now we need to be especially creative in how we find our social connections. And so it might be having a Zoom party or doing something virtually, like I mentioned before about calling, maybe FaceTiming or video chatting, something like that, just to stay connected. Spirituality, that can be a helpful part of self-care, and that can mean a lot of different things. Whatever you connect with, maybe trying to incorporate something spiritually could be helpful. Personal, the hobbies part, like finding something that you enjoy or something you do for yourself. Safety is part of the space, as well as having the healthy living environment. So I think those can kind of go together too. So like I was talking about with that pyramid of taking care of our overall well-being, that's one of the parts of the foundation that we need to feel safe in our environment to be able to be most efficient and happy in the other areas of functioning too. Financial, that could be saving money, budgeting, managing your money, or avoiding spending sprees or things like that can be helpful. And then work, which I think could also, many of these things in this category could also be under school, include managing your time, having boundaries again, trying to promote positivity, and taking time for breaks too. So I know that I'm asking you to add something else to your day that may already be full of lots of other responsibilities and things. But the interesting thing about taking the time to do that, even though it's another thing to add to your day, when we make the time to take care of ourselves, then we can function more efficiently. And it may help us to be less cranky as well. So if we're taking the time to do those things, it helps us just our overall well-being. So then we can, we might have more energy then to do the other things that we want and need, or we may be in a better mood. So it's more enjoyable for us, the other things that we need to do as well. Those are just some benefits that can happen when you make the time to take care of yourself. Okay, I'm going to include a few tips for reducing stress when learning online, because I think many students still have online learning components happening right now. So now there's a lot of information on this slide. So I'm just going to go over it with you, and you know, if it works for you or you think you could incorporate this into your routine, that's great. If you want to give it a try, I would encourage you to do that. But you don't have to follow every single thing that's on this list, or really any of the things that we've talked about today. There are just suggestions. And like, especially the coping skills, I like to give those options of like 10 different coping skills. I'm not asking you to practice all 10 of those coping skills, but you may connect with 1 or 2, or maybe a couple of those coping skills. Maybe you do try all 10 of them, but it's just trying to help give you some ideas of some other things that might fit in your life and in your routine. Some of these things might not fit, and that's totally okay. So the first part is creating a desk or workspace that's dedicated to school or work, if possible. So I understand that might not be possible. So just doing whatever you can to try to be in like a work mode wherever you are able to do your work. and avoid working from your bed. And I'll explain a little bit more about that as we continue on. So keeping your space organized, cleaning it up either at the start of the day or the end of the day, that can be helpful. Making a list of the tasks that you want to accomplish each day, and then keeping track and check them off as you go. So I know for myself, sometimes if I am feeling overwhelmed or I'm like, oh, I have so many things to accomplish today, where am I even going to start? It can be very helpful to write down the things that I need to accomplish. For me, it seems to make it more manageable. And maybe it's like I feel like there's all these things going on, but then when I look at it on my list, I'm like, okay, that's actually not so bad. And maybe I can prioritize it too. So maybe a few of the tasks maybe they don't have to get done today. And then maybe I can see, okay, I definitely need to do this one today, and being able to prioritize that can be helpful. Following a routine, so having a wake up time, a bedtime, having a lunch and eating a real lunch can be helpful. That's part of taking care of our bodies and our overall physical well-being as well. So that kind of goes with the not working from your bed. So working from your bed is likely not part of a regular routine. So what can happen is our mind and our body, it doesn't associate that we're in work mode. It still associates that we're in bed mode or sleep mode, rest mode, whatever it might be. So trying to set some kind of routine, some kind of environment so that your brain and your body knows, okay, it's work time now, can be helpful. Also, having a start time and an end time can be helpful too. That's part of time management as well. And sometimes it can be very helpful when we have an end time as like, okay, I can wrap it up and then I can go do whatever it is I want to do or just be done with work for the day. Adjusting your computer brightness. So I don't really know too much about the blue light glasses out there, but I know that it exists, that you can get some glasses to help with the level of blue light that can be straining on eyes. So there are some settings. Not all computers have these settings, but you could check yours to see if you do, or if you're using like an iPad or something, like turning down the brightness. So I think it's called night mode or night light mode on some computers that you can turn on, and it takes it lessens the blue light amount, which can be helpful for less strain on your eyes. Getting dressed, so that goes back to, again, just trying to be in a similar environment to what you typically would expect for going to school, going to work, whatever the task or responsibility might be. Trying to still do some of those steps can be helpful. Using breaks to get up and stretch, moving your body can be helpful. So maybe even if you're listening to a lecture or something, and maybe you can have it on and get up and stretch and just move your body then. Staying hydrated and having healthy snacks available. So I think sometimes being at a computer or on a screen for a long time, it can be tiring. And so staying hydrated, making sure that you're drinking enough water or whatever you're choosing, but I would encourage water or some kind of drinks with less sugar. And then also having healthy snacks available can be helpful. When you're feeling hungry or you want a snack, when you have healthy ones available, it's more likely that you'll be able to choose that. And then staying connected. So like I mentioned before, staying connected with family or friends, and I know that it might be more challenging right now, but there are lots of creative ways that you can still stay connected. And especially with related to online learning, staying connected with classmates. So maybe that is doing that through email, or maybe you have some kind of connection with classmates, because we don't have that in-person connection or chatting. Like even, like before class or after class, we don't really have that time where we could just chat with a classmate. So trying to find some creative ways to still be able to do that. All right, now we're going to move on to services that are available for students at SDTCC. So there are mental health services that are available for students now. So what is available includes short-term individual counseling, consultation, referrals for community supports, crisis interventions. There is a free online mental health screening, which is available on our website, which Kim will post. She'll post all these links in the chat. And I am hoping to have this available for students to review as well after the presentation today too. But if you're wanting to find any of these links, you can find them in the chat. I just wanted to note too, there are many other student services offered as well. So there are other academic supports and non-academic supports, and you can find more information about that at this website. I wanted to share with you a little bit more of how to access mental health services if you think that is something that would be helpful for you or you want more information on. So it starts with filling out a Cyclones Care form, and the link is there and it will also be in the chat. So filling out the Cyclones Care, there's just some information that's requested of you, name, contact information, a brief description of what any concerns that you may have are. And then at the bottom of that form, there's a box that says, is this a mental health referral? And if you check that box, then it will be submitted to our mental health team. And then someone from that team would reach out to you to talk about scheduling. There is also a video that goes through the steps of how to complete the Cyclones Care form, and that will also be available to you in the chat. There will be some walk-in appointments available as time and scheduling allows. And how you can access that is by emailing Kim in Student Services, and her contact information is there, or calling her. You can also visit her in Student Services when we are back to in person. But right now, the best way would probably be email right now. I just wanted to share a few other mental health resources. I think this is good information just to have readily available. Suicide preventions and supports. There are 2 phone numbers. One is a national phone number and one is a local phone number. The local phone number has also a mobile crisis team. So if it would be necessary or helpful, they do have a team that would be able to come to your location and help provide support or assess as well. And I just want to note the local one that is for the St. Cloud and 4 county area. So I believe it's Stearns, Benton, Sherburne, and Wright counties. There is also a text crisis line there, and it says text home. You can really text anything to that number. If you'd like, you can text home, MN, anything you text will get a response. And then there are lots of other resources available on the Mental Health Services website. That's a new web page that was created to help give students more information about mental health services, resources, and things like that available. That link is in the chat too, or you can easily find that page by searching mental health from the main web page as well. All right. So that's about all I have for information I wanted to share today about tips and tricks to manage stress. Now, I think this is a very important slide too, because you can be entered to win prizes for attending today. So there's information there on the screen. To be entered to win, you have to email your student ID number to Kim, and her email is there and in the chat. And just include that you attended Tips and Tricks to Handle Stress. The prizes include if you attend 1 session, so just by attending this one today, if this is the only one you attend during Student Success Week, you're eligible for this prize. So there will be a drawing for a $20 bookstore gift card, t-shirts, and other swag. And then if you attend 2 sessions this week and complete the survey, the link is in the chat too, you will be entered to win a $50 bookstore gift card. So just make sure that you email your student ID to Kim. All right, does anyone have any questions? All right, I'm going to hang out just for a few more minutes here. If anyone wants to ask any questions, I'll be available. Otherwise, you can fill out a Cyclones Care form if you're interested in receiving any services, or you can email wellness@sctcc.edu if you have other questions about any mental health services or student support services. You can email wellness@sctcc.edu also.